Call to order the November 8th, 2023 workshop meeting for Plymouth Township Council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. We have two presentations to start on the agenda tonight, and our first presentation is from Raceway Kia.
Mr. Danik, how are you?
Good. Mark Danik on behalf of 1402 Ridge Pike Associates, the owner of Raceway Kia. I have some drawings I wanted to pass out first.
Thanks, Mark. So, 1402 Ridge Pike Associates, they're the applicant, or potential applicant, and with me is Wayne Heilman of Raceway Kia. He's available for questions if need be. What I wanted to start with is just give you a brief overview of the project, the proposal, and then ultimately we're asking for a waiver of the full-blown land development. The project itself, if you turn to page 2 of 3, on the Stout and Codwell engineering. See the grade area there, it says proposed building addition, approximately 2,000 square feet. Okay, so that's the extent of what they're proposing to add to the building. And what it's going to be is, if you've been to a car dealership lately, you know how they all have the drive-through service bays where you pull in, instead of your being out in the weather, you pull in, and then the service people take the cars, and then you're just basically inside the building. So that's what they're proposing to do. Just a small, very modest addition to the property itself. And if you turn to the architectural renderings, that will give you a better idea of the project itself. So the engineering plan orients you on the site. And then you'll see there's on the first page of the architectural, there's the small addition in the corner. And then the next page is your site plan. And what it is, it's a two-car basically drive-through where there's 2 garage doors on each end. And the cars, the existing traffic, like the existing customers that would be on site already, they'll be pulling into this new location. The service people will take their keys, they'll meet with the service attendant, and then they'll basically drop their car off and move into the service lounge. And on the, let's see, A3, you can see various elevations and interior of the property. And then A4 is just more specifications. So as I mentioned earlier, there's what they're doing is basically upgrading their dealership pursuant to keep the customer experience in line with Kia Corporate's current objectives for its dealerships. There's not going to be any new traffic trips or new customers coming into the property. They're essentially reconfiguring the current flow of customers into this new area for drop-off. It's important to note that the applicant were otherwise compliant with zoning, so there's no additional zoning relief needed. This is just simply them building within their property itself. We're requesting a waiver of the township's formal land development application process, Section 906 of your Saldo Code. We're proposing to submit the drawings pursuant to the township's improvement construction permit process, which the drawings that you have before you will still be reviewed by all the borough's or township's professionals, and we will work with them to make sure that we are compliant with whatever they require in any review letters. Given the modest request, We submit that the literal enforcement of the land development ordinance will result in an undue hardship due to the conditions of the property. The dealership building and the overall layout of the property is not changing. The applicant is simply redirecting existing traffic flow to provide a better customer experience. There is no increase in any impervious coverage. The addition is going to be built on what are existing parking stalls anyway. The lot itself is 2.68 acres, substantially larger than the minimum 9,000 square foot requirement in the commercial district. There's no risk to any neighbors being adversely affected by the addition. The waiver of the literal enforcement of the Saldo ordinance is also not contrary to the public interest. We're simply seeking to add on to our existing structure. And we believe by following the township's improvement construction permit process, we're going to follow the purpose and intent of the ordinance. We'll submit the drawings for review by all the township's professionals, and we will comply with whatever requirements they may impose. And with that, I would open up the floor to any questions from council.
Is there going to be a new waiting area? Is that what I can see the flat screen TV?
Yeah, they're remodeling. If you go to the first page of the architecturals, you'll see there's the addition, and then there's another shaded area that says remodeled area. So that, my understanding, is, I guess, the existing service area where when you drop your car, if that's where you currently meet with the advisors, and that's the waiting room. So what they're doing is they're shifting that process of meeting with the advisors over into the new area and renovating and upgrading the service lounge for a better customer experience.
Mark, without having that Saldo provision in front of me, are you asking for a waiver of submitting a land development application, or just to avoid going to the Planning Commission and Montgomery County Planning Commission?
Well, I think we're asking to not go through the formal land development process and simply follow the township's.
To handle it through permits?
Yeah.
Well,
And we would, okay,
we need a full.
yes, and,
Yeah.
okay.
It's not
Generally,
just-
we would also need the engineer to take a quick review, and obviously this
Oh,
was
yeah.
just presented, before we can get you an answer on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I did meet with Joel Rowe already, and that's what brought me here tonight. So, the applicant will, fully comply. It's just the length of time to get through a full land development process would really slow them down and kind of give Kia some agita, because it's taking a while to get this off the ground. So we're hoping to, streamline it as much as possible. It's a narrow addition to the property itself that's substantially covered already.
Understood.
Resolution. So generally, the township engineer and other consultants will review it, maybe the traffic engineer, as cars pull in, there's not a lot of room to turn around and get around, and the fire truck template and turning all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Then the staff, with consultants, part of the staff, can make a recommendation to council, and then council draw up a resolution. So
Okay.
So if you could, give us a few
Are
days
are these the
to review,
plans,
and then
or is
we'll.
there anything else for Woodrow and Associates? Bob,
I mean, I have
Bob-
extra copies of.
No, Bob Jordan can take that back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tim Woodrow and Lonnie, and I.
And I did give Joel Rowe, he has a 24 by 30 full-size set already.
He has one.
Yeah,
set.
for two. I might have left two with him, but I can certainly
So
bring
you
more.
can get the other set.
No, it's just, if I brought 24 by 36,
Oh, yeah.
we'd be shuffling paper all night.
Yeah, Most, we don't want that.
Yeah.
But these guys need it.
Yeah,
Makes
no,
it
it's
much easier to
appreciated.
see.
And I do have my card if we'll reach out to you directly and I can get anything you need.
Thank you. You guys have
Thank you.
any other questions before he gets off the hot seat?
No?
Thank you for your consideration.
Mark, someone from Lonnie, someone from Woodrow and Associates or Karen will be in touch.
Okay.
I just said
Appreciate
Lonnie
it.
and I, sorry, Bob.
All right, our next presentation is from Alliance Partners, Plymouth Meeting Park, Max Ryan. Good, how are you?
Set up.
Just let council know, this is for the same parcel where we looked at the Grayson School a couple months back.
Oh, yes.
Same parcel, so I assume they're no longer looking at this site.
Oh, okay.
Just an assumption.
Oh, that was a very intriguing.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
same
school.
building, it's the same building.
Yeah. Sorry to see the school's not going in.
So, hello, I'm Max Ryan. I'm with Alliance Partners, HSB. We've been under contract for a little while to buy this property, One Innovation Drive. I believe you refer to as Plymouth Meeting Park. We are scheduled to be hard on our contract in just coming days and close before the end of the year. It's our intent to take this building. This building's relatively attractive and new. It's maybe 16 years old, but we believe there's a struggle to find users for a property like this with what's happening in the market the way it is. We've had some success doing what we're proposing to do here elsewhere, locally, and really what we just wanted to share today, and hopefully hear any concerns that might be unexpected before we're stuck about our plans. So we like to take these buildings, and we're pursuing no change to the zoning or the uses that are allowed, but simply make them a little bit more functional for the type of users that would come here. This plan is representative. It might be a little difficult to read, but what we intend to find is a multi-tenant building. So we'd love 1 or 2 users, but we plan on 7, 8, 9. And we like to add loading positions or drive-in doors around the building. In this particular plan, you might see 12 in total truck positions, a couple of drive-in doors, either for tractor trailer or for box truck. It's not that there's a great deal of truck traffic necessarily. It's just that when you have multiple tenants and they want a door, they need it in their space and they need it available when they need it. So the attractive thing about doing that, we've done in a lot of places, is there's a lot of users that just can't fit in your typical suburban office building because they may have a staff of office, they may put something together or build something in their lab or research and development area, and once in a while, once a week, once a day, they've got to ship it out and they need that secure loading position. So if you drop that into a building like this, the users are pretty attractive, great tenants. So we propose to sprinkle them around the building and demise it, and then attract those 10 to 20,000 foot users. There's really not a place for them to go in the market right now for a space like this, and that would be an appealing product. So Sean from Bowler, you can speak maybe a little technically about the changes to the site plan.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Sean Monsmith Bowler. So as you can see, it's an existing L-shaped building that we're going to be carving out to a handful of tenants. Main access is from Lee Drive, which leads into a private access way into and then around the parking lot area. So in order to fit the truck docks, as well as some of the turning movements that we need, we're going to be removing some parking spaces, carving out some landscape islands and such with curving, so that there's a net increase in impervious coverage ultimately would be the goal. Currently, the required number of spaces, as I said, we're going to be taking out some spaces, but the required number of spaces is 1 per thousand for warehouse use, which equates to 144 spaces for this building. We have 395 even remaining after doing some of these improvements, so we're well over parked there as well. Again, net, zero change in impervious, so stormwater will be handled as it currently is today. There's a few existing stormwater basins around the property that we intend to maintain as is today.
No zoning relief expected?
Yeah, we aren't proposing any building, increasing the building footprint or size, so there's no zoning. We meet all the current setbacks from our understanding of the code. And yeah, we would like to do a waiver of land development if that's possible, and possibly even do a grading permit to have your engineer review, if that's allowed. We feel like the improvements around the site are pretty de minimis in nature, which could qualify for a grading permit. For all those plans to be reviewed by your engineer, and then of course we'll pick everything up in an as-built and have that recorded with the township as the final product.
That's it.
Are there any truck docks there now?
No, I don't think there's, I'm trying to think if there's just like one service. I don't even think there's one. If there was, it might be like a on-grade type of door. Yeah,
Was that building primarily office?
it's all office right now.
And you're
Yeah,
looking
it's all
at
vacant.
more warehouse use?
Yeah, we would, we have no users, truly. We typically buy these and redevelop them on spec, so we'd love a user. We don't have one, so I don't know who it might be, or what the mix would be, but we would expect in our planning, like in our budgeting for performance and what have you, we'd expect that a user could come in, he might have 30 or 40% office, and then using the rest of the facility for something else, a 16-foot clear. So research development, a lot of those type of users would do some other activity supported by their office. Yeah.
Bob, any questions?
I think basically just from a grading perspective, we're just concerned about stormwater management and how those loading docks are going to drain.
Sure. Yeah.
And something along those lines. I think the traffic circulation is obviously a concern. And the number of parking spaces, depending on the uses that you have proposed, would most certainly have to be justified.
Yep.
But I think that's really concern.
Same, you just heard it, right? Plans to the engineer.
Yeah,
Does Joel
absolutely.
have any of your plans, our zoning officer? Joel
Not
Rowe?
currently, no.
Not currently.
We have not submitted yet, but
So
that would be
you
the
should
next step,
send them
I believe.
to Joel Rowe here, and then he'll get them to Woodrow and Associates,
Okay,
and
great,
they need to be reviewed. The traffic engineer needs to take a look too.
fantastic.
Are there any other, should we have any other concerns about things like increased truck traffic on those roads or increased truck noise to neighboring homes? I mean, is that anything?
There are no neighboring homes. This is between the turnpike, the railroad, the interchange. Yeah. Nobody, and these are private streets. This Lee Drive, you guys know that, right? Lee Drive, or Innovation Drive now.
Recently learned all about it. Yeah.
Peter,
Yeah.
yeah. So, so I heard that they just recently got together with an agreement with all the owners for snow plowing and maybe other repairs that need.
Sounds like it's close. I
Okay,
know it's not
yeah,
done, but
they're
yeah.
working on that.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
are private streets.
The main traffic would go down by the main intersection down by the Target, would be the intent down there to get the access way to the highways from there, instead of going up into the the residential neighborhoods to the north.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll have a liquor license transfer hearing.
And actually, I had a quick comment on that. The attorney, Jonathan Jordan, reached out to me yesterday, and while he has handled around 30 of these for Royal Farms, he's unsure if he's going to be able to have a Royal Farms witness available. He still would like to proceed, move forward, provide all the information about the liquor license, about how Royal Farms is going to operate. Still ask for approval, but if there are any other questions that he would be unable to answer, that he can continue the hearing to a future date certain in order to address those questions. But he would at least like to open the hearing and get started to move forward, since it was already advertised. Mike and I do not have any issue with that, but wanted to mention that to council prior to next Monday.
So the attorney would be presenting documents?
I think, the documents and the procedure regarding how the Royal Farms would operate in terms of the takeout alcohol.
Well, I guess you'll decide if they have the requisite personal knowledge or whatever.
And if there's any issues, we could always say we're not comfortable, you can come back with a witness.
Thanks.
But he wanted to at least make us aware of that, and that was the game plan, I guess, because their headquarters outside of Baltimore. That's been their standard practice and across Pennsylvania so far. So I told him I would raise that, and if we want to get started, fine. If not, we can always continue to a different time.
Any concerns about starting? And that's at 6:30?
Yes.
6:30?
If the solicitor's okay with that, I'm okay.
All right. Budget meeting announcement, I'll just read that. 2024 meeting dates.
Just, this is pretty standard, but just give it to you to decide before we advertise this. It's advertised at the beginning of each year, probably maybe sometime in December, but it's advertised. If anybody has any problems, you can just let me know, like now or soon. Figuring on the reorganization meeting, since there will be a couple new council people, when we have those municipal election years, we usually, that's all we do is the reorganization, so in case they want to go out and celebrate. And then we have the workshop, the next night, rather than municipal year, we'd have the workshop right before it or after it. I do have a question. Will any of you know if the new council members would get their own judges, or would you like me to reach out to get a judge for their swearing in?
No, I haven't thought to ask them.
I mean, it's a brand new topic. I know it's just yesterday, but
Yeah.
but I would think the judges get busy, so we want to get on their schedule. If you want me to do it,
Yeah, Jody.
You guys want to check with them and get
Yeah,
back
we'll
to
check,
Karen?
let me check with Kristen and then check with them.
Questions?
the dates look all right to everybody else for the reasons. There's, like the day after Labor Day, the day after Election Day, would really be only two changes in September and November. So yeah, I'll take that actually off the agenda. So if somebody wants to read the reorganization meeting announcement.
Anybody want to just read that? See?
I'm sorry, read what, the
C.
reorganization meeting?
That was you
Oh.
volunteering, Karen?
Yeah, I guess it was.
All right. Administration D, phone system, new phone system.
Yes, our existing phone system is 12 years old. We've been here at the Township Building, and here at the Community Center, and one fire company. We've been running into some glitches that aren't really conducive to police operations. The recorder over there is hit and miss, and we can't sustain those problems. What I'd like permission to is go out and start this. It's been in the budget for like the last 3 years. We've just been pushing it off and pushing it off. I think it's time to move forward with
It's been in the budget, and I see Colin shaking his head, so any questions?
That was my question, is it in the budget?
There's a
Already
vendor on
answered.
CoStar.
Yeah, and the vendor would be using, would be a CoStar vendor.
And it's the same vendor, or?
It's the same vendor that we've been using for service
Okay.
since, for 12 years, we used Mitel's, their Total Solutions program. They would come fix, we paid for it, it's an insurance policy. Anything broke, they would come fix it, no charge. So then we're now on month to month, whatever, or if there's a problem, we just pay for it and do that. So that's where we're at now, using this same company that's been servicing us through Mitel. Like their service, very knowledgeable in with that. And we will most likely keep the Mitel phone system, but it'll be a new version.
We don't have to replace all the phones themselves if they're still working.
We would-
Save money by not having to
Right,
replace the physical phones.
I think we could keep like 40 phones, the rest won't work. There's 40 phones that will work. And we'll try to keep them.
Okay. Guess you got the go-ahead.
Thank you.
Anything else for administration? Police and Public Safety. We have discussion here for the Act 91 and criteria for the firefighters' tax rebate.
Yeah, so I included the email that I received from John Blanack and John Hoffman, chiefs here, that they're suggesting to use the same criteria as we use for the stipend program as to determine who an active volunteer is. I also at your places tonight left circulation number 11-12, which is an email from Alex that says there are a couple other criteria that have to be added into criteria from the law that should, I guess, help determine an active volunteer.
Right, so I think that the way it's written, that volunteer service credit shall consider the following activities in determining credit towards a certification of active service, that whatever resolution or requirements that council comes up with needs to include all four of those conditions in some way in order to be compliant with Act 91.
So can I read these?
Yes.
Absolutely, sorry. I didn't
So, yeah, sure. So the Act 91 requires that the Volunteer Service Credit Program shall consider the following activities in determining credit toward a certification of active service. Number one is the number of emergency calls to which a volunteer responds. Number two is the level of training and participation in formal training and drills for a volunteer. Number three is the total amount of time expended by a volunteer on administrative and other support services, including fundraising and facility or equipment maintenance. And number four is the involvement in other events or projects that aid the financial viability, emergency response, or operational readiness of a volunteer fire company or a nonprofit emergency medical services agency.
So I think the first two are in the stipend program now, and it's 3 and 4 that we probably need to add. So, you know, maybe you're the treasurer who maybe doesn't fight, maybe does fight fires, maybe doesn't fight fires, or even attend drill night or whatever.
Yeah, so we just need some additional criteria of, amount of time or expanded by volunteers, and for number 3 or for number 4, other projects that they do that benefit. And once we can get that criteria and how that will be used, I can finish preparing the resolution to adopt with the ordinance in order to keep this going.
Sure. So currently, with like the stipend programs that we turn in each year, we have the requirements and the percentages that have been agreed upon for so many years to stipulate who will receive that funding at the end of the year based off of meeting those requirements. We do total in non-required things such as special service type assignments, administrative assignments, and things like that, that you'd still have to qualify based off of what our criteria is that we agreed upon, but we do total that into the current stipend program as we speak. They're not requirements, but we do include those. So
I think we need to
include that.
I think we need to be able to break it out in the way that we draft the resolution. Correct. And say if it's X amount of hours. I'm assuming it's going to go back to the committee to come up with that criteria before it comes back to Karen and I to draft the resolution to work with the ordinance.
What I'm saying is we are totaling that already. We would just have to come up with whatever we agree upon as a minimum standard for that, since we don't currently do that now. It shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
And then in terms of the rebate itself, it sounds like you guys are looking for essentially the same standards that we have been using for the stipend program. Is that correct?
First two.
Right.
Drill nights and the actual calls.
Anything that we need to discuss with that, or questions? Or
Sounds good.
Yeah, as long as we have all 4 criteria, I'm comfortable in drafting the resolution.
Would that resolution be on the agenda next week, or is that something that would take long?
Probably December. If we're able to get those criteria.
December?
Because I believe in June we did the ordinance, and the ordinance, am I right on when we did the ordinance?
I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll have a December resolution.
You guys have any other questions about that?
We'll have that for you for the emergency services board meeting. Is that okay?
Next week?
Yep.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay. John and I will work on that and we'll get that to you guys.
Good. All right. And then the next item will be the Harmonville Fire Company loan, as we've previously discussed, for their renovation project, to be in line with their grant receipt that they received from the state. We just sort of discussing the,
Yeah, so I went back and looked at the May 2nd of this year, the workshop. Council had this circulation in front of them, which was just 0% interest rate or up to 3% interest rate for the $2 million that it already said it would help with. And no, you go back and listen to that workshop meeting, no decision was made yet, but I think these guys need a decision pretty soon. They need it right now. They're working on a business plan to let the state know how they're going to come up with the rest of the money, besides the $2 million grant. So, am I right? Is that,
Yes.
Okay. So, if council could decide tonight whether they would, if they have an interest rate or a zero interest rate on this loan, it would help the fire company get this business plan completed. It's due in December, right? And they got one extension and there are no more extensions. So they have to know.
I think the general consensus I thought was we were fairly okay with the 0%. And it seemed like we'd
That's
be
my
okay with that.
recollection,
And then that the terms, the rest of the terms, I think that would be up to you guys, I guess, to decide 20, 25, or 30, and how you pay it back.
Yeah.
But I think at the 0%, it sounds like we're okay. So you guys can at least use that as the basis.
Cool. Yeah, no, we can do that and we can move with our plan. Thank you.
Anything else on that one? Okay. Chief, anything additional?
No, thank you.
Public Works and Sewer, Plymouth Interceptor Phase 3 grant resolution.
Yeah, so if you remember the really large sewer project, the bids came in somewhere between like 4.5 and 6.3 million, and we rejected all of them. And Alan Mason's advice was to try to get a grant to try to help pay for it. This grant, and we're using his office for grant writing because they're really familiar with this project specifically, and they offer the service. So it just made a lot of sense because they know all about this project since they wrote it, right? So this is a state, they call it an SLA, a statewide local share grant. Max is $1 million. So obviously it's something, it's not as much as we might like. If we, so I don't know if you want to apply for it, we need to pass this resolution next week and hope to get up to $1 million. The H2OPA grants could be more money, but they said they really are, they like regional situations. Like this application might not really, for one interceptor repair, we might not get the H2OPA grant. That's for larger, I guess authorities and things where people, several townships go together and that kind of thing. They think that we have a better chance of getting this grant than an H2OPA.
Do you know what the timeline is if we apply for the grant, when we would find out?
This one?
Okay.
I think this one we don't find out, well, sometime next year, if we would get it. They're due in December,
Okay.
this one. And I think it could even be like next fall before we would know. It's how long these projects take. The H2OPA grant, people are already waiting now to find out next fall. Like that one's finished this year, and the next one doesn't open until 2025. I don't think it's wise to wait that long.
No.
I don't know. This is only part of the bottleneck that is facing like Keystone and Preet if they build these apartments at the mall. There's another bottleneck before you get to this bottleneck. True? Is that how that works? Yeah.
So I guess so number one is it would not be reflected in the budget, right? Because we don't know if we're going to get it until.
We don't know if we're going to
Right.
get it.
And then my other question is we'd have to pass this resolution, and it won't be till next year. I see that my name is on there. As should we put Karen's name on there?
I think this resolution is just authorization to submit.
Well, because it says to
yeah.
assist in obtaining,
Yeah, because
to facilitate in obtaining the request. So if we
I
don't,
asked that exact question of Laura, who's, because I said, our chair is at the end of his term. And so should we put his name here? And she said yes.
okay. I just wouldn't want you to have to pass like another resolution.
Yeah, and sometimes you get the DocuSign stuff. You've set up accounts to do that before. But I explained, and she said yes. Keep
Okay.
your name on there. So.
Just as a layman, I'm not going to sign any documents.
You're in for a
Buying
million.
the township or anything next year.
Is everybody,
Is it okay with,
Okay
if we
with
should
it?
apply
Yeah.
for this?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
a million
No,
is
no
helpful.
downside, right?
There's no
Yeah.
downside.
No
I
downside
mean,
to $1 million.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
if we're lucky enough to get it, and we decide not to do the project, you just don't take the money.
Yep.
Go for the
But
million.
this is a project that, you know, we spent a lot of money with Carroll Engineering, getting it all ready. There's a lot of easements, a lot of dealings with the railroad and PECO and PennDOT, and, you know, Norfolk Southern. There was so much went into it. I would hate for this to not get done. It's gonna, it has to be done at some point, right?
Yes.
It has to get done. And everything is still, you know, fresh as far as all these easements. I would hate for them to expire and we have to start over someday because we didn't do the project. It has to be done, right? There's no doubt.
Right now, you have an 18-inch line taking the mall, Germantown Pike, Hickory Road, Pump Station, Germantown Pike, coming through Arthur's Court, right across Plymouth Road, through Sussex Apartments, under the Turnpike. That goes into a 10-inch line. So we have an 18 to a 10. So we want to try to eliminate that bottleneck.
okay. So does someone want to read that for next week?
I'll read it.
Anything else for Public Works? All right. Engineering, Bob, anything? Subdivision Land Development, Conocelli, 906 Ridge. Is it Kathy?
That's Nick.
Nick. All the way down to 502 West Germantown Pike.
That's Lynn.
Outback is Kathy.
Yes.
And 1208 Ridge.
Nick.
Extension request for Royal Farms.
That's Nick. And that should say January 31st, so I'll fix that.
Escrow releases. Craft Custom Homes.
Lynn.
Watt is Kathy. And Pleasant is me.
And I have one more I'd like to add. I just received for Black Horse Woods or Sean Tamaro's Fairfield Road, and that's Nick.
All right, code enforcement, 2040 existing and priority sidewalk plan.
In your books is the plan from the Plymouth Comprehensive Plan, Plymouth 2040 Comp Plan. We had a Zoom call out Sharon, right? And-
Yep.
And Tim.
Sorry, I'm pointing at you as
Yes.
Tim. I'm just so used to Lonnie sitting there.
And in this plan, there were three priorities, first, second, and third, to fill in sidewalk gaps. We talked about it and wondered if, you know, council would like a committee of, you know, any one of you could be on it, maybe Jim or somebody from his department, Tim Woodrow, and maybe Alex or somebody from myself, just to go through and maybe just make it two priorities, like yes or no, you know? We can start with, we're talking about looking at the zoning map, the parcel map, but take the zoning layer off, you know, but, so you could see every little house, you could put a little, you know, red mark if it's, you could fill them in as you go, fill in the sidewalks, because some people have them and some people don't. And it would be helpful to see it like parcel, individual parcels. And that's what Tim talked about that day. So does that sound better, so that you had a map and then the criteria is when somebody comes to Jim and says, do I have to put a sidewalk? You look at the map and you go, yes? No.
And the map would be updated
So
periodically.
it's a yes and no, not a priority,
Yeah.
three-tier priority.
And people couldn't really ask you for waivers. You know, there would be, the criteria is just, it's already been determined that yes, it's desired and we want you to put it on.
Yeah.
And no, it's not.
I like taking the subjectivity out of it.
Yes.
I can tell you,
I do too.
because that bothers me.
I think we have to.
Yeah, it's you know, the whole map could, obviously, eventually would get approved by council.
So I get this group would look, not just there would be a set of criteria to determine what is a yes sidewalk still. That still has to be determined, correct?
Yeah, that's what this committee would,
In that,
Right.
yes.
that's what the
and-
committee would decide.
And I think the committee could then look, when they were saying yes or no on specific streets, so is there a destination nearby, such as a church or a school, or a bus stop, park nearby, public transportation, some of the neighborhoods near the mall that might not have sidewalks, versus, or is there existing sidewalks already close by, versus maybe no in some of the neighborhoods that we've seen that have requested waivers where there is no sidewalk and there's no destinations nearby. And now people are coming to us as waivers, and council is saying, can we get some criteria? So that's why we thought about maybe if we have a map, we don't have to worry about subjective or subjective criteria. It's just yes or no with a council-approved map that gets updated periodically.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Takes all the guesswork.
And then the only other follow-up that we were discussing completely up for council is if the answer is no, would council have any interest in, we don't need an answer right now, but maybe in the future is, if the answer is no on the map, would we want to say no if there's a fee in lieu, or just leave it as no and just generally being no, you don't need to have a sidewalk added? With the thought being that there could be a potential for a fee in lieu in order to make other improvements for walkability.
Because I was going to ask, what would the fee be for?
Other sidewalks in other neighborhoods.
Yeah,
That
that was
doesn't, so that sounds
in a residential neighborhood that could go.
Shady.
The one question I have is, obviously, think about like people are, redeveloping whatever. I know we had always talked about there being certain areas that if we ever got additional like sidewalk grant money that for the township, would that also be included in this? Where like, or would that just sort of be all part of the main criteria? That, and I guess what I mean is like if a grant came in front of us for a sidewalk, do we still know, hey, this is one we've targeted, this is one we've targeted? Is that still kind of part of the conversation?
I think you would probably pick a street that you would generally say, yes, this is where we would want sidewalks, and then you would say, there's no sidewalks here, we would use the grant to maybe put sidewalks in that section.
And am I wrong saying that, do we have that right now? We kind of have like a list somewhere of like our priorities for
Sidewalks.
I know, I just remember we had
Other than
talked, I remember we had talked maybe over the years about Fairfield Road being an area that was like a high priority, or Plymouth Road past the tech school. I just remember those conversations coming up, that if grant money ever came out, where we would look to use it. But I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, if it's either it's a priority or it's not, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we have a list right now, Chris. We did get a multimodal grant, gosh, I mean, how many years ago now, but to put the sidewalk here from Jolly Road to Walton Road on
Right,
Germantown.
right. So something like
It was
that, I guess.
A
is what-
grant that we received to, we applied for and got.
Mhm.
And,
Like if a grant came in front of us today, and we're like, oh man, we have to use this for a sidewalk, like where are we going first? I guess that's something that I don't know if we had that in our heads or not.
No, I don't think we have it in our heads now, but we could look to the map. And
Right.
We could look at this map now. This is our comprehensive plan.
But
You know,
maybe that's a
look
good,
at Butler Pike.
yeah, I was saying maybe that's just a good part of this conversation, right?
Mhm.
Because I was thinking, I think, Alex, to your point, there could be hey, if we've said there should be sidewalks here, then that's where grant money could go. But there could also be an argument for, there's areas where we would say, no, a sidewalk's not necessary because it's a sidewalk to nowhere. It's a neighborhood that there's no other sidewalks. But with a grant, maybe the whole neighborhood could have sidewalks where we might otherwise, also, and I'm not suggesting we should do that, but maybe that's part of this conversation, that it's not as easy as it's a yes area or a no. The no's are never going to have sidewalks.
But you're not going to get a grant for like a neighborhood street. It has to be like out here where you had a bus stop, and it's on a public park, and it's on a major highway, and you don't want people walking in the street, which they used to do, and so you're not going to get a grant to put it in. the
Even if
neighborhood.
there's something close by, a school close by,
Well,
a
you
church
know,
close by,
maybe,
something
but it
close
would-
by.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm interpreting this map because I was trying to figure it out. Third priority sidewalk gaps means it's low man on the totem pole. So the yellow roads, because I have questions if the ones that are highlighted in yellow, and maybe I'm just being colorblind in this too.
No, you're right.
The yellow ones, like Little Avenue and Cars Lane leading back to an elementary K-3 school, should not be third priority, in my opinion.
The
And-
second priority, that's orange.
Oh, is that orange? To me, it all looks yellow.
Oh, you're right, Cos Lane is yellow.
Yeah, and then
But Little
Butler
is not.
Pike. I know right alongside the Friends School, it's pretty tight.
This is
But,
Butler where I live, this is Harriet.
yeah, but further
Not-
down Butler, where, you've got people getting off buses on Germantown Pike and having to walk in the roadway if the Friends School doesn't let them through. It's very dangerous, and there's sporadic sidewalks, so there's a real good argument to make that a high priority, too.
Yeah, but that one corner there at the Friends School, there is no place to put a sidewalk.
But there's the rest of that whole big stretch. If the Friends School is nice enough to, and they're nice people, to allow people to still cut through their property when they come out of that horrible dog-ear turn, then again, you have sometimes sidewalks, sometimes not. You're walking in the road, you're not walking in the road. I think that should be, from a certain point on, a first priority.
Well, that's why we suggested a different map, not this one. We suggested with a committee sitting down.
In other words, changing.
Great.
So are you looking for?
Yeah, I would like to.
Are you looking for somebody on council to kind of
Probably two.
raise their two people?
Yeah.
Two
Can't
people
be
to
more than two.
two people to raise their hand. Well, there's only two people sitting at this table here that are in it for the long haul. So I guess tag, you're it.
Oops.
Aren't you, Lux?
Sign me out. What's Nick doing
Unless you want to
tonight?
volunteer Nick since he's not here. But, I mean, you guys could talk to Nick too and see if you want to do it.
Or we could pick me and I could pass the mantle on to my replacement who happens to live along that stretch of Butler Pike.
Oh, yeah.
Or you could decide,
Now, who-
New
I mean,
Year,
it
who's
would-
on the committee. That's-
You might want to wait. You might want to wait
Yeah.
till January
Yeah.
to decide who wants to do it.
Yeah.
Might be a good
That's
idea.
fine.
And I think the goal of this would be to amend the section of sidewalks. That way, whenever Jim is processing a
New house.
new house or a substantial improvement to a house, that he will clearly know based on the ordinance, which references a council-approved map, whether they will need sidewalks or not.
And so the council people on the committee will be working with
Some staff.
code
Probably Woodrow
enforcement and
Associates and Jim and Karen.
Bob and
Yeah.
Karen and,
All
so
right.
it's not a citizen thing like the planning commission was.
No, I think it would be more legislative as an ordinance.
Okay.
Any other
So
questions?
that was our suggestion to address the how do we have some criteria.
I like it.
It's a really good one.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Alex. And Karen.
Anything additional for code enforcement? All right. Zoning, any of these three of any concern?
No.
Who would like to
so.
read? Kathy? All right. Mr. Brady, Parks and Rec upcoming events.
We have tree lighting as well. Bus trips are back. A lot going on in the holidays. Bus trip 4, so we're glad to see that first time since 2019. And spread the word, so we can try to get a second bus. So, good problem.
I saw you sold out your vendor spots for the
Yeah.
upcoming craft fair. That's incredible.
It should be nice at the middle school because the parking will be easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good spot for it. So we're looking forward to that.
So who wants to read that?
Any takers?
I'll take it.
Karen. And Phil, great job today, as every year with the
Yeah,
veteran
it was-
ceremony.
That was lovely.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah, it was a great day.
I would like to announce the holiday tree lighting, if
Of course.
you don't mind.
It's going to snow this year.
Well, yes, it is. Should we keep that a secret? And
No salt. No salt needed for this.
the community center ballpark.
You had Chris worried there.
Phil, you wanna talk about this?
Would like to move the fences in, the right field and the left field fence, the center field will stay the same. It would be at their cost, they'll pay for it. The collateral benefit to us is it creates outdoor storage, so all their baseball supplies, their screens, their turtle will be put away and locked up now, which really wasn't their goal, but I think make the whole complex better. I think they just, it's something that they've talked about for a while. And padding will be the same. We're going to move the padding onto the fence. We're going to wait for a letter from their engineer. They'll go to Jim to make sure that it's safe. Like, that's what we did last time when they put the padding on. So, it's pretty simple, but it will change the complex of the field.
Phil, just so I'm clear, are they removing the existing fence at all, or are
No.
they're just basically putting and then creating those areas,
Right.
those gaps become storage behind
That's
the
right.
fence?
Yeah, that's where the screens will go, and their aids they use for training. So, we always talked about having like an outdoor closet. This wasn't the goal with this, but we'll get them. I have to work with them a little bit. I'm not sure how they're going to get to the one in left field, but that space we'll be able to use it. So.
Does that get everything off the pathway, like coming up there
Yeah,
to
I think, Ken,
Got
the
it.
answer to that one's going to be is they might have to put something on the field to get in there. Because you don't want to have to go all the way out and all the way around. Those screens are heavy and they have wheels, so I
I think there are double gates. Double gates that open into the field.
So we can get them off the path.
Right. No,
There.
No, she's talking about getting all the equipment
Today, we
off the
walked
path.
up there and
Right.
half the
Yeah,
path was taken
correct,
up by their
correct.
Yeah,
stuff.
all their equipment would go in.
Yeah.
All that
This
stuff gets
stuff,
off the
yeah.
trail, gets off the
It's
path.
safer there. Yeah, absolutely. We've tried for years to get them to put it off to the side, and it just doesn't work. So it needs its own spot.
Questions?
Okay, if they do it. if they-
Yeah, any issues?
It's
Nobody
our
had any?
problem.
No issues for me.
How did we handle years ago when they did an improvement in terms of bidding?
I have the
on
answer
property?
to that.
Thank
The
you.
solicitor ruled it as a gift.
Okay.
And probably, if you want me to, it'll take me a few days. I could dig out an email on that. We're going back.
I can easily find it tomorrow. I
Okay.
just was thinking it.
Yeah.
How did we deal with the netting from years
Yeah.
ago when we made
But
that
that's
determination?
exactly it. Yeah, it was ruled as a gift.
Okay. Thank you for already knowing that.
Yeah, I remember.
I'll be
It was a
consistent with
nice-
that same answer.
Yeah, good. All right, thank you.
No, just a suggestion, I don't want
Yeah.
to
No, go
get
ahead.
sidetracked here, but from a maintenance standpoint,
Right.
that warning track gets weeds and stuff like that. I guess you'll have to make sure that it's not becoming too difficult to maintain it if it's inside a gate behind a fence.
We
And
talked
probably-
about that. You're right. We talked about making them put a different surface in there. I don't, Rick, I'll let you answer.
I mean, it's good, we maintain it now, just that it's going to be inside the fenced in area, so it'll be a little bit different.
We'll make sure you guys can get in and out of
We
it.
do spray the weeds and the wearing track, and so just will be another,
You have to maintain it if their stuff is in there?
yeah.
Just wouldn't want those to become these like
I mean, they.
areas of
Yeah, they-
growth and,
Weeds?
yeah.
They will.
We maintain it now, we maintain inside the batting cages, inside the bullpens, we spray weeds in there, and clean leaves up and stuff, so we do it now. Just this will just be another storage area. Yeah, I think that, I mean, the pro is that we get all that stuff out in front of the field and we have a place to put it. The con is that we're gonna have to maintain it. So I think getting all that stuff off that path and out in front, because now we have to weed whack around all those screens and the mower, they have a gator up there, there's a lot of stuff, so getting out of there, I think is beneficial.
So it will be doable and maybe even easier for y'all?
I don't know if it'll be easier, it'll be doable. I mean,
As long as you're okay with it. All right. Phil, anything else?
No, that's all I have. I'll let Bill know, and then we'll wait. We'll get a letter from their engineer that the fence will be safe with the action plan.
Planning and development, the Cunningtown sidewalk plan.
Yes, so Tim Woodrow prepared this, and I guess, so, there's the two sidewalk projects down there. There's the smaller one with the crosswalk. Actually, Chris got an email today from Carroll Engineering on that. Late in the day, did you see that too? I didn't.
Yeah, the response was, actually, we took a Google Earth shot and we're looking, it was only one utility pole on that side, it's actually two.
Okay,
So, I didn't get to respond to
right. They came in late this afternoon when I got back from here, but, and then there's the larger sidewalk project that they want. The one's the crosswalk down at Lake Street, you know, but then there's the other sidewalk project where they'd like to be able to walk to Allenwood Park safely, and the children on bikes and the baby buggies and all the rest, right? We talked about that. So Tim came up with this, and I have it in front of you just to see how far up you would like that sidewalk to go. So the idea is this sidewalk stays on, say, the river side of the road, goes up to the stop sign in front of the mansion house. Would be a new crosswalk there. And the question is, you know, how far up from there all the way up to Tees Boulevard would you like that trail to go? Or would you rather the people come in here onto the old Elm Street, this side here by the mansion house, and enter the park right there? So we're trying to get them to Tees Golf, or we're really just trying to get them into the park, or, you know, how far do you want this sidewalk plan to go? This sidewalk plan, you know, could take a really long time, especially if you want to get a grant for this one. Because I
Would
think
there
this is
be
going to
eminent
cost a lot
domain
of money.
involved or easements?
I'm
I mean, this
sorry?
is all private, this
Yeah,
is all
so-
that Cleveland Cliffs property, isn't it?
It is. So I guess the question is, first of all, how long do you want this where do you want the sidewalk to go? How far up? And then there's a lot of surveying, and then they have to determine if they have to acquire right of way, which is cost money to facilitate, and then to pay the property owners for their property. On the outside of the guardrail, or the inside of the guardrail, or, you know, be safer on the inside, but, you know, again, you're on the property then.
Right.
So
It's private property, yeah.
it's private property, so you'd need an easement there. And so the bigger basic question is, you know, how far do you want the sidewalk to go? If in fact, you know, we're gonna.
And once you cross over to Old Elm Street, who owns all that property? Like the
Old
old
Elm-
mansion house and below Allenwood Park, and then all the way up to Tees?
So, so the Old Elm Street is a township street. So if you did the crosswalk and just ended it right there, and they walked on to what looks like the parking lot in front of Old Elm, and for the mansion house, like that's the township road, I guess. Allenwood Park, you know, the township does not own that land.
That was a
Cliffs
shocker.
Owns the land, and we have like a really, really long-term lease on it. Am I right about that? Yep, we don't own that land.
I'm sorry, who owns it?
The steel mill.
Oh,
No,
They
the
own
steel
where the
mill
park
owns
is?
it.
They own the land
Steel
where
mill
Allenwood
across
Park
the street.
is.
because we have
County
the park.
Yeah, they own that
Allenwood Park, we don't own the land.
Is there access to that park other than on Fulton Street?
There's,
Yes.
yes, it's
Like-
near the mansion house, right?
It's not a gate, it's just an opening on the mansion outside.
But like, is it an official access point? Like, if they were to ever redevelop that mansion house, could that cut off that access, or will that always stay?
It's on our side of
Okay.
that wall.
And then there is another property between Ellenwood Park and Tees Golf. I think it's 602 or 601. That's the Candyman.
Yeah.
Who
Well,
owns that?
That section in front of Allenwood Park on the road, that's PennDOT's grass area. That's PennDOT property there, so I don't know if you could go up there.
And then
It's
there's
kind of a steep slope.
There's a property in another house there.
Yeah, that's the
Truck-
Candyman.
Candyman, yeah. And then I think then you get to the Tornado property where Tees Golf is. So, you know, so then there's more right of way that may need to be acquired depending on, you know, the survey, and I guess, you know, if you stopped it at the crosswalk, you wouldn't have to worry about that. But if you wanted to go all the way up, then, you know, that would be part of the project. And to apply for a grant, you almost have to have it all figured out first.
So the
And-
benefit of going up to Tees Golf would be to facilitate access to Tees Golf by the people in Cunnytown?
Well, children, kids on bikes going up here
Kids
for
on
mini
bikes,
golf,
yeah,
you know, or
yeah.
driving range,
Or people coming from Conchie, because, I mean, Conchie's not too far. I mean, it butts up against Cunnytown.
But that is double this, I mean, that is
it's a
double,
long
that is a
lot.
long
This
stretch.
this could take an awful lot of money. In fact, you know, you might not be able, you might need that multimodal grant to get this done.
The roadway crossing that's indicated on here in green, is that there's a stop sign there, right? Is that where the stop sign
That
is?
is where the stop sign is.
Like to me, for current planning purposes, I think going up to the stop sign and then just getting over so you can get into the park would be the priority.
Yeah. I mean, Tees Golf may be there for a while or may not be.
Right, it could turn into something else.
Well,
someday.
and the concern of Cunnytown was that their neighborhood was cut in half. So what this does is it bridges what the highway did. I mean, it bridges the two halves of Cunnytown, and that's what they want. That's what upsets and concerns them, that their community was cut in half, and this bridges it back together and allows a lot of young families on that other side of Cunnytown to get over to Allenwood Park for the kids to play. Because now they have to bundle the kids into their car seats and drive up there. Because it's not safe to push the strollers.
Yeah, they didn't want their neighborhood chopped off.
So I guess just in terms of studying them, is that what we would say is like for now we want to look at just up to that
To the mansion house, and then you'd be on a public street to get into the park from there, right?
And look, I make that where from the roadway crossing over to where it says drive crossing is the most difficult. There's like no room there, so that probably is the most difficult stretch.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Under the bridge, it's kind of wide. Getting down to where the other sidewalk ends, it's pretty doable. That's
Well,
definitely
under the bridge, PennDOT has given us permission to get into their right-of-way for the, because you have to take some of PennDOT's right-of-way, but they've already agreed to allow a sidewalk to go through there. So we're okay with PennDOT under the roadway.
it's this driveway, and then that's where we drove in. You know, so it'd have to be all well marked and everything else.
And
There's
I saw
an
your
entrance here to the steel plant.
I saw your email to them and explained to them that it is a long process, and
It's a long
they're aware of that.
process.
That's what it is, but got to start somewhere. So I guess identifying
Yeah.
that 700 or 800 feet would be the place to start.
All right, everybody in agreement? Take it up to the cross. To the
And if we can
crosswalk.
get a grant,
Or the
because
stop sign. Yeah,
even that amount's going to be costly because of the right-of-ways. You know, taking property is not.
Yes, if you need to take property, it's going to be expensive.
All right.
And I assume PennDOT will allow us to paint a crosswalk, as long as we have.
They have to approve the whole plan.
That's true.
They have to. This is their road. They're going to have to approve the whole plan, including signage and striping.
A crosswalk discussed at some point, or no?
I thought it said.
No, the
That's
crosswalk
the
is
one
up- is
the other
at
one.
Light Street.
Like,
It's the other side.
Yeah.
Near the school bus stop and everything.
That one we've
That's
got.
the smaller
Yeah,
project,
here.
and this is the bigger project.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So there's some more vacancy announcements. Would anybody like to read those?
Who just said that?
Lynn? Is that Lynn?
Yes.
I did have one other thing to add under planning and development.
Yep.
And I apologize, I think I gave you one wind gap paperwork that you got tonight, 11-10. But there's another one for Rycon, and I apologize because all your copies are back on the desk. But I have one and Rick has one. So I guess there's 3 for Rycon and there's 3 for wind gap. For the first one for Rycon is the Public Works roof insulation.
Yeah, when we demoed in Public Works, we took the ceiling out of the old insulation, was sprayed on the roof decking, and it's all, it's in bad shape. It's crumbling. So this is a way to insulate with bad insulation and put a vapor barrier on the area above the offices and the lunchroom. So that's what this first change order is.
And that's $21,887.
We could respray it, but they have to scrape all the old off, and it's probably 3 times the price if we went to try to go back to spray insulation. So this is a less expensive option.
Explain. The second one is grading changes.
Yeah, so we had some issues with grading over by where because of the existing generators were there
There was some grading issues with how the swale and how the new grade was going to be set on the existing area over top of the well field. We did have some water problems in the basement because of part of that grade. So these are changes that Tim Woodrow recommended that we do to eliminate some of that, some of those issues. It's adding a berm, it's extending the swale. We raised up the pads on the new generators. So this includes all that work to try to get the water to shoot away from the building.
And that's $16,076. And the third one for Rycon is the vestibule door changes. This is the unbelievable.
Believe it or not, they designed this building without automatic doors.
You know, I am so astounded by that.
So
I know
it is.
nothing about building, and
We didn't realize it until we saw the new doors go in and there were no automatic doors on, but because the assembly number is below 300, it's not required in the code. So they just, even knowing that we had.
ADA doesn't?
As if all 300 people don't need that automatic door. It's unbelievable.
And we had automatic doors, that's the other.
Well, yeah, we do.
We did, and so anyway.
That's $45,564. So it's a total for Rycon of $83,527. So we're now, this would be a change order to the contract. That's why, we're bringing it to council for the contract change.
We have to get that council public meeting.
Yeah. In the contract, there was what they call allowances, some like money built into the contract price that we've been using for like other smaller changes up till now. But I think most of them are we're just about out of allowance money. We're into extra money now, beyond the original contract. So there's 3 here for Wind Gap Electric. They total $35,228.37. You want to explain what these 3 are?
So the first one is all of the feeder circuits to the police department in the basement were hung on the basement ceiling that went right through where the elevator shaft was supposed to be built. So all of those feeder circuits had to be rerouted around the elevator shaft, which was not shown on the plan, so it was extra work by the electrician. So this work has already been done. It had to be done before they could cut the hole in the floor for the elevator shaft. That's the $26,000. It was all the data and all of the feeder circuits for the police department. So it had to be done without disrupting the police activities. But that work is already done. The second one is for a new weatherhead for the existing weatherhead that was going up to the roof. Because we had 2 roofs, the weatherhead didn't line up. The shaft didn't line up, so we had to put a new weatherhead in to take all the wires for the police antennas and public works antennas. So that was done. We did that while the roofer was there, so it's under warranty. But that's the second one here for Wind Gap. Again, already completed. Had to be done while the roofers were there. The third one is for wiring temp trailers. This is kind of a long story, but basically our original roof drains, they are all internal to the building. They're plumbed through the building. They go out through roof leaders out into the stormwater system. The line that left the building at the code enforcement department when the police addition was put in was just cut and left unattached to any stormwater. So it was the police area at the time. They were temporarily using that space flooded because it just surcharged back into the system. So we had to get temporary trailers to house the police department, and they had to be wired up for power and for data. So that's the third. Again, already completed.
the grand total of these 6 changes is $118,755.37. Is that just a motion, Alex, last time, a motion and a vote?
A motion, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to add that on campus renovation change orders. Does somebody want to read? I'll have the, you have the 3 there, but I'll put the other 3 in your books. I'm sure they're all in your books. So you want to read that?
Any takers?
I'll read it,
Kathy.
however you phrase it.
Campus renovation change orders. Kathy.
I do have one or two other things. The Elmwood Park Zoo, the Jaguar, remember the Jaguar? So we gave a $5,000 donation already this year, and the woman reached out again, and I said, well, we were contemplating if we could use the 2023 donation of $5,000, and we probably would anticipate a 2024 donation of another $5,000. Could we put those 2 together and make that if you want to get the Jaguar? And she said, yes, if we could get the payment in the first quarter of 2024, that we would normally give in May, and she's asking for it in the first quarter, then we could order the Jaguar, if you want the Jaguar. So I don't remember Rep. Scott asked,
Yeah, I mean-
then should we have a Jaguar?
We may as well get a Jaguar.
It doesn't
Yeah.
change what we're
We're going to give them
contributing.
$10,000 every 2
Right.
years anyway,
Giving
right?
the
So,
same amount of
But I want
money.
to know how it's going to be traced.
so
And tell them that's doable. To,
So the only other question with that is, like, do you want maybe the Parks Board or the Park and Rec Department or somebody you can make a theme to your Jaguar?
Yeah,
You know,
that'll
so-
be
We need a
fun.
theme.
It won't be me, but I know some people who can help us.
Yeah, I think that you
So
got a lot of
either
people
the
that'll
staff
find
or the
that.
Parks Board, whoever, you know,
Very
because they'll
creative.
probably
Yeah.
want to know that.
I'll get right on
that's going to be your whole day tomorrow, Phil. I can tell you.
it. I can barely match my socks. You don't want to be doing Joanna and Rose. There's some good people like that.
Well, Rose has a degree in art.
She does, right.
Okay, so that's an okay. Okay. All right. I guess that's it. I guess the only other thing I was thinking of is, does council want us to prepare ordinances for a small budget, a small increase in the millage for 2024, a small increase in the fire service fee, and the sewer rate increase, which we're going to go over on the 20th, but there are 3 ordinances that we're going to need. I was just looking at the calendar. It's going to get really tight. They all have to be advertised right after Thanksgiving, or before December 1st, to be acted on December 12th, I guess. So it's going to be coming up fast, and Kellen could show you what that would mean to an average household, you know, with the average assessment, and we could have it all ready for the budget meeting on the 20th, but just want to know if that's a direction that we should.
I mean, I would say prepare it so that we have it for the 20th.
Okay.
You know, worst case scenario is we don't do it, but at least we have it prepared so that if we do, we're
I
ready.
don't want to be presumptuous, but that would be our recommendation for those things.
Do you want to do it?
We do.
Okay.
Because we
It's the same form over.
it's the same form over and over, we just change the numbers.
Just wanted to make sure you weren't expecting me to.
Yeah, no,
ask
not
this.
you. This is for us. Okay, to
Right.
prepare.
Exactly.
Doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Doesn't hurt to prepare it.
Right.
Otherwise, we'll be out of
And I
time.
just wanted to mention it before I show it to you on the 20th, and you go, what?
Sure, sure.
What are you doing? Okay, all right, well, that's all I have. Except for executive session.
Anything else? All right, we will adjourn and go to executive session.